Okay, so last week you probably remember me saying that wouldn't it be really just, wouldn't it throw us all off if they just killed a major character like Nikki, just like right in the middle of the season, and it would just, as viewers, it would just really throw us for a loop and we'd have no idea what's going to come next, and I was kind of mad that they didn't do that. Well, I suppose I, I suppose I kind of got a bit more than I bargained for when I asked for that, but we'll go into that in a minute. It's weird that this was seemed to be such a crucial episode, and it seemed to be one of the shortest too, which is probably for the better, because where it's all, one of my beefs with this show is sometimes it has a tendency to stretch things out a little more than it has to. So it's actually kind of perfect that it was all these scenes were pretty much right straight to the point, and then just after an hour, that's it. And it definitely left you craving more, which is great, especially with that final line from Gloria, where it just takes us right into what the hell is going to happen when she gets back to Ray's house. I had these horrible flashbacks. Surely they would not do this to Gloria, but I did have flashbacks to when what happened when the cop with the pregnant wife came to investigate Martin Freeman's house in the first episode of season 1. But I don't think they would do that to Gloria for any reason. So, going back and to where Gloria's life seems to be headed, to where the point of where everybody's life seems to be headed is in Varga's direction. I really love this moment where we finally get to see a back and forth, like a real back and forth between Gloria and Varga. And it goes back to what the episode started with, that we've seen throughout the show with him, where Varga is a storyteller, and when he tells a story you can kind of tell that he's basically trying to bullshit somebody or back them into a corner, which he very successfully does with Sai, because Sai's just in a very... anybody can do just about anything to Sai now after what he's been through. And then there is this moment when he tries to pull the same thing with Gloria, and it doesn't seem to work. She seems to see right through him, and she seems to be the first person that Varga has come across, probably in his life, that seems able to see through him and isn't kind of pulled in by these hypnotic stories that he tells, and where he's able to kind of weave his way around and deceive people and eventually get them into places that will ultimately have them killed. So she doesn't seem like she's in any danger of that. It feels like she knows, she kind of sees right through him and knows exactly not exactly what's going on, but enough to keep herself alive. And so to see Varga kind of put in front of this for the first time, even when he tries Googling her and he can't find anything, he's really in kind of a place here that he's not exactly used to, and it'll be really interesting to see how this further plays out. I did like, and obviously Thulis continues to be amazing. Or not to take away from Carrie Coon, but I mean, they are definitely. I like that they seem to be fleshing out Gloria without having to give Carrie Coon that many lines. She's able to just kind of use her expressions, and that's kind of where her character seems to be building the most, and not necessarily how the plot builds her character or like backstory or anything like that. We just kind of see how she reacts to these cases that are put in front of her and the directions they're going, and how just the kind of those approaches, and just it's all about the expression. I also love the mouth acting that David Thewlis is doing when he's on the computer, and it's kind of when he finally discovers something, we're kind of seeing his reactions strictly through his mouth and his disgusting teeth and all that he's continuously picking at. And going on the Hamish Linklater scene, when they bring in, very surprisingly, Mimo in a suit, and is able to just kind of usher him right out of this, which of course, we know it's probably not that easy. I love that it shows that Varg can just have things done just like that. But at the same time, I have a feeling this IRS thing is going to continue to build, and we won't see the end of that, which means more Hamish Linklater, which is great. Now, I did like also that I mean, obviously it did end up having a point. I was kind of hoping that they would build on it a little more, but this whole thing where, through this whole episode, at the very start, when we see Ray sitting there preparing what he's going to do and how he's going to take vengeance for what happened to Nikki, of course, he thinks, you know, Emmett and all the things going on with him has something to do with it, but the thing here is that throughout the whole episode, I kept thinking back to No Country for Old Men, where when Shigura is basically tracking down Llewellyn, it's this constant dread thing where we just know something really, really bad is building, and we just keep getting there closer and closer. And we just know something is coming. Like, something really bad is just kind of lurking around. And anytime we see Yuri and Mimo, it's just their presence, and obviously anytime Varga's in a room, there's just something so incredibly off and very nerve-wracking, and it's just something kind of sets inside you, like when you just know something awful is on the brink. And yeah, especially when Ray and Nikki fled and then went to the motel, you just kind of sense it, and then we obviously once again think that Nikki might be killed. And the thing is it actually kind of feels maybe a bit more likely now, because she was able to seemingly, you know, cheat actually being killed off in the last episode. It's like, well, maybe they're gonna really go for it now that she's crossed their paths again. Maybe this is finally it, especially since we know how bullshit Yuri and Mimo are. So, and then this whole build-up where it's once again, you almost kind of, I was obviously, even though I say it's seems more likely, there was also a part of me saying, well, if they didn't kill her off last episode, maybe they won't this time either, something will happen. Well, something did happen to help Nikki cheat death again. Not what I would have suspected. Obviously, the only reason Nikki is still alive is because Mimo had to leave to go help Varga clean up Ray's death, his crime scene of a... yeah. And I don't know. I don't want to seem like hard to please here, because I know I was just saying it'd be interesting if they killed off a main character this early, because it would make us wonder what's going on. I don't know that Ray would have been my choice for that character. For starters, I always found Ray to be the more interesting brother than Emmett. So I feel like that's a loss, but at the same time, it should be interesting to see what this does to Emmett's character. I don't know. It seems to... because, like Varga said, they weren't even really that close. So there's really... I don't know if there's going to be a tragedy in Emmett's character now or what, because he just seemed... obviously, with the shock of it all, he seemed a little frazzled, but that was about it. So maybe once it all settles in, because now he's lost a brother on top of his wife now. And so it's really kind of... it's hard to say what exactly direction we're going to go, which makes it, you know, just as exciting that we don't know. And that it seems kind of hard to predict. I don't know if they show anything, but I failed to mention that I tend to, I turn it off before we do the scenes from the next one, so I really have no idea what all to suspect. But I do know, and I did really like the build-up. That was kind of a problem too, it was this whole thing where, the whole thing from the very beginning was Ray trying to get that stamp. And then when it all comes to a head and Emmett shows up at his house and basically says, you know, just here, take it, I give up, I'm done doing this. It's like, well, we have 4 episodes left and Emmett's giving up, which means that something big is going to happen. Because Emmett's not just going to give up and Ray's going to take the stamp and everything's going to be hunky-dory for the next 4 episodes. So through that whole conversation, which is a really, really good scene, and McGregor plays amazingly, when we finally get to this point that the brothers have been kind of... either this scene was going to happen or some big blowout was going to happen, and we kind of ended up with both in the same moment. but there's the moment when, obviously, Emmett gets real and says, you know, everybody likes me except for my own brother, go figure, the one I look exactly like. And so there's definitely an emotion there in Emmett we haven't really seen much. And then we see this other side of Ray where we kind of feel like it's almost like Ray is so stubborn that if Ray was still alive right now, the feud was never going to end. Because it was the whole Emmett saying, I'm going to give this to you, and Ray saying, but it's mine, you can't give it to me because it belonged to me in the first place. And basically no matter what Emmett did in this scenario was not going to be good enough for Ray. It wasn't going to make up for the 20 plus years they've been feuding. So, and you could see it, like, you just knew something big was coming because this scene was happening so early. Once again, I don't know how I feel yet about the idea that Ray has been killed off. Because it's also one of those things where not only did I think Ray was one of the more interesting characters, but I thought it was weirdly I mean, I know some of the most effective deaths in TV or movies are usually the most anticlimactic ones because they just catch you so off guard, but I don't know, I never quite felt, I don't know if it was because of that impending dread through the whole episode or what, but I really had kind of a lack of surprise that it was Ray for some reason. Like, you would think that, I keep saying I wasn't expecting Ray to die at least this soon, so you would think there would be some kind of element of surprise when he gets taken out, but it was more like I was so caught up in the, well, I don't know that that's the character I would have chosen to kill off early because he was one of the most interesting, and just the way that it happened, that John Cusack and the Grifter's death. And it was just like, I guess I was so caught up in that's how we lose Ray, to kind of be shocked that it actually happened. So, like I said, I don't want to seem like you just can't this show can't please me in any way, but it's, I'm really just not sure how I feel about this. It'll really depend on what the next 4 episodes do, and what becomes of Emmett's character through this. But like I said, I do really like that, that ending that leaves us on Gloria's on her way to the house, and we'll see what's happened. I'm sure it might be something really anticlimactic. Like, I don't know if the plan is to get rid of Ray's body or to leave her. I know they want to frame Nikki for his murder, so I assume that, but yeah, there's going to be something. But I imagine, obviously, Varga tends to be smooth enough, even though Gloria is starting to see through him. Varga and his crew are smooth enough to where there's really not going to be some big confrontation already. Gloria will get there, and they'll have already planted evidence or whatever it is they're going to do. And yeah, but still, even so, it'll be like, I don't know, because Gloria seems to be onto something. Maybe she'll immediately know. It won't be exactly what it looks like, because I doubt, obviously, with the way Gloria is and the persistence and that Marge Gunderson way about her, what kind of seems to be on the surface, she's going to go deeper, and we'll of course see where, you know, whether or not she believes that it's Nikki right away, or if maybe she'll never believe it, because it would seem Emmett's in a really bad place right now, because everything is pointing at Emmett retaliating, because Emmett will have just found, Gloria saw Emmett find out that Ray was going to have him killed. So Emmett's really not in a good place right now with Ray dead, even if they're going to frame Nikki. So it'll be, yeah, there's plenty of directions they can still go. So it's all going to be very interesting. I'm curious how we're going to do as far as episode lengths for these next 4. If we're going to go kind of a bit longer, or if these short ones are going to kind of get us to a climax. But yeah, it's all just kind of wait and see. But right now, I'm really, I don't know, I can't say it enough. Ray would not have been the character I killed this early. But I would like to think that the writers have something, obviously they have something planned because it's all been shot. But I mean, hopefully when they got to this point in the writing process, they had something planned and know what they're doing. So I guess we'll see. I was really, as I've said before, I was really underwhelmed with how Season 2 ended after all the great stuff in it and all the build-up, but maybe this one can kind of meander for a little bit and then it'll end with a nice big bang. I guess we'll see. I think it's pretty clear at this point that this season isn't necessarily up to par with the great moments of season 1 and season 2. So I guess we'll see. I'm definitely a season 1 guy, but I know a lot of people were crazy about season 2, and this one seems to be pretty unanimous that this one is kind of lower, though it does seem to still have its following. So I think that's enough rambling. That's about what we have here. So yeah, very short episode for being such a crucial one. But we set up a lot, so we'll see what happens, and hopefully they don't screw it up too much. So tomorrow you should have a Pirates review, and then after that, I don't know. Obviously, I missed a Versus this week because scheduling got confusing. But I have like 3 planned now, so there's going to be that one that I warned you probably wouldn't interest you much, but there's a couple more that might get your attention more, so you'll have those to look forward to if you care. So yeah, so until next week, we're done.